secret of getting ahead is getting started. Good evening, everyone. I am Elin Maria, the host for today's inaugural ceremony. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome each one of you to our third edition of Virtual International Mediation Competition 2023. The three-day international mediation competition is brought to life with the joint collaborative efforts of Newcastle University UK and Lex Erudites India. And this competition will witness the participation of around 40 teams, both nationally and internationally. This event stands as a testament to the unwavering commitment of Lex Erudites and Newcastle University towards nurturing the next generation of mediation practitioners and visionary leaders. Through this partnership, we aim not only to showcase your skills, but to amplify the significance of mediation as a cornerstone of international relations and conflict resolution. The Newcastle University is a public research university based in Northeast England and is a member of Russell Group with overseas campuses in Singapore and Malaysia. As a member of the Russell Group of research intensive universities, this university has a world class reputation for research excellence in the fields of law, medicine, science, engineering, and social sciences. Lex Erudites, meanwhile, is the brainchild of few undergraduate students of law, with the primary aim to provide a platform for social legal intercourse. As an e-journal, Lex Erudites aims to advance legal knowledge across the borders in the fields of law by bridging the gap between the legal fraternities around the world to foster an intellectual environment for a meritorious community of law students and legal professionals. Without wasting much more time, let me get to the work that has been assigned to me. For the welcome address, we have Ms. Atmaja Menon, core team representative of Lex Erudites. Over to you, Atmaja.
Mediation stands as the voice of reason and often the epitome of dialogue and action. It's indeed an absolute honor to have you all on board for today's inauguration of the third International Mediation Competition 2023. Firstly, I take this opportunity to invite Honorable Justice A. Muhammad Mushtaq Sir, our chief guest for the day, for gracing the occasion with your esteemed presence. Thank you, sir. Now, I'd like to welcome Dr. Jonathan Galloway, Head of Law School, Newcastle University, who stands as a prominent figure for law and is a polished stalwart at the same. Thank you, sir. Welcomes are usually extended to our guests, but it would be unfair if we didn't do the same to our own beloved mentor, guide, and patron, Professor Dr. Brian Clark and Mr. Sagar Singham Sethi, an advisor at the Board of Lex Erudites, for taking avid interest and enthusiasm in bolstering Lex Erudites and its activities to greater heights. With all due love and respect, I'd also like to welcome all of our participants to the third edition of IMCV 2023, organized by Lex Erudites along with Newcastle University. Hope you all soak in the heat and the pressure to come out on the top. Wishing you all the very best.
Thank you, Atmaja. Next, for the much awaited inauguration and keynote address, let me invite Honorable Justice A. Muhammad Mushtaq Sir, Judge, High Court of Kerala. We are extremely grateful that you have accepted our humble invitation and be present here today, irrespective of your busy schedule, sir. Justice Muhammad Mushtaq has been a part of our previous editions and he is joining us from Seychelles today. I deem it a great honor to have such an inspiration like you here, and it's my privilege to invite you to deliver the inaugural address. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Mr. Jonathan and other Payan, Sagar, and all other youngsters who are watching and who are here on the virtual platform. I'm quite delighted to address you. I thought I would have some problem with network, but I feel it's good, it seems. It is really an honor for me to inaugurate the third edition of your program. I've been there a couple of occasions, I believe, for some other program. But mediation comes to the heart of my, as a person. Being a mediator, I was trained as early as in 2005 by a European team. It came from UK. Then I worked as a mediator as trained by MCPC of Supreme Court. When I was a lawyer, I'm now as a judge for 10 years. And I was there as a governing body of mediation for around almost my career as a judge. except a few months, I demoted my presidency because when we move on a higher ladder in our governing system of administration, I was another assignment. I'm seeing mediation as a lawyer, as a judge. When I was given a roster of family, I know how important as a mediation. The mediation training given to me was useful as settling many of the disputes. Otherwise, it would have been beyond reach of the parties who are having such settlement. They never conceived of having such settlement. And I'll always believe in the beauty of mediation, especially in interpersonal disputes. Of course, I was quite happy when our parliament passed legislation on mediation. And of course, it is to be no certain portion is to be notified, but still, I believe this is a clear step forward to establish mediation in future in India. And youngsters definitely need to undergo the mediation training where they are studying overseas in India, because this is where you can thrive in the dispute resolution. And people slowly will reject the adversary litigation. That's big obvious reason that it's involved delay, expense, huge expense, multi-layer process of challenges from civil law court to higher level, then again to high court, from high court to Supreme Court. And it involves huge expense, and it is for an ordinary person, it is not, they cannot afford. And delay, of course, obvious frustrate ultimate justice they get. And they will prefer the court only for the larger issues affecting society or public, or which cannot be normally settled or resolved in the mediation. But I'm at the same time, I'm a little apprehensive of mediation when in our social context and cultural setting is backing, because we can't think mediation is another layer of settlement of disputes. And if you feel that is another alternative dispute resolution, like instead of arbitration or the adversary litigation, the civil normal litigations before the civil court, then there will be a serious problem in understanding the mediation. The mediation as such was there in tradition in the past. And even during the British period, in 1878, when Lord Consalves in Bengal regulation recognized the parties can form their own tribunal to settle the disputes and choose. It is not akin to the arbitration, but more akin to the mediation, and party can resolve the disputes. That was recognized back in 1872, because British also recognized it is there it is the root in our tradition, culture. But slowly it is withered away in the sense when civil procedure code, we have a very formal system, which was quite rigid system, civil procedure code. And the evidence itself become the truth. And those who can afford good lawyers, for them, the truth prevails through that procedure. But we know as a judge, as a lawyer, we all know sometimes truth is far from the evidence, and the evidence itself is not the truth. I mean, that's where the exact problem. The focusing on the truth and making a new, fostering a new cultural value within the society, that should be the aim of mediation. If you look at our cultural past, you know, we have three major religions in India. Hindu ideal is based on dharma. That reflects the internal and external context, and that stands for the truth. So people, that's what the culture. And Christianity is concerned, the love has become very ideal for them. And as far as Islam is concerned, compassion and mercy. So these conceptual value, if you see that, if you closely watch what is happening in the mediation, these values are reflected in those processes. And that will foster a healthy relationship between persons in disputes, understanding each other, and promoting values within the society. If you look at our adversary litigation, maybe a judge may be able to pass a good orders judgment, but consequence, you look at the consequences, animosity, hostility, and it is sometimes those who are really, they to succeed before the court, because of lack of expertise of the lawyer, or because of incompetence of the lawyer, they suffer. I've seen as a person, being a lawyer, when I was in trial court lawyer, I said there is no proper pleading on the side of lawyer. There was no proper steps were not taken during the trial. As a result, the clients lost the case. Actually, they are entitled to win the case. So what ultimately he carries in the name? He feels that he is on right, but court is not on right. That's what he believes. He tends to believe. He cannot identify it was the problem of the lawyer, or because of some other circumstances. So to bring an L3 relationship, this should reflect certain value. It should infuse certain value. All the disputes of arising out of interpersonal, whether it be personal, whether it be property disputes, whether it be family disputes, or such other disputes where it arising out of interpersonal relationship, these values should reflect in them, and that will bring a new environment, a new surroundings, and people will tend to believe in that process. Today, of course, they believe in the mainstream justice system through the adverse litigation because they believe judges are impartial and neutral. No doubt they are impartial and neutral. But it's got its own drawbacks, its own flaws. The truth, as I said earlier, the truth is in the form of evidence. And always, sometimes it's frustrated, the idea of justice, the fairness. Now, how do you believe, in what manner then we need to promote the mediation? That's the biggest question for us. You can have a set of rules. You can have certain procedures. You can have institutional rules, like in arbitration. But I don't believe these rules and procedure will itself bring the credibility to the system. That's where the real factors involved. The mediators need to be trained in such a way that they have to exhibit certain type of, display a certain amount of characters to generate confidence on the disputants or parties to the disputes. That requires a lot of maneuvering, in the sense you need to have a patience, you need to have a temperament, you need to have a good communication skill. These will not be reflected in the mediation bill or mediation act. And you need to know the cultural background. You need to know the difference of the parties. What is the mediator is doing is bridging the communication gap between the two disputants and make them realize about the disputes and the cause of disputes and underlying the reasons for the disputes. That requires a lot of maneuvering, in the sense, understanding the human psychology and understanding his social background. Even like the language difference itself brings a lot of issues. It's all about understanding each other. That's all the mediation is all about, and understanding the truth and understanding the underlying causes for the disputes and interest. What is manifested is not exactly that, may not be the real cause of the dispute. What is manifested might have been fashioned by the language of lawyer as a legal disputes. Actual dispute is far from the legal disputes. The lawyers tend to fashion it in such a way to make it appear that he is in a way to attract the former legal system. So his duty is that, because without a lawyer, litigant may not be in a position to project his problem. If a mediator is attempting to understand the issue in the legal frame of the lawyer, then mediator may fail. Mediators need to travel beyond that. But that requires a lot of skills and learning. It is not an easy job in the mediator, I would say. Though it looks very easy job. Maybe in some of the commercial dispute might be a quite easy job. But many of the disputes, it is not an easy job. I think law schools also need to teach them the psychological aspect of human mindset, how human tend to think. The person who speaks in mediation is based on his perception and his experience. And to convince him his experience or perception is wrong is not easy, but you cannot also go beyond a certain level to opinionate or judgment. That requires a lot of art and skills to make him realize. If you show him the sky, you would say it's a sky. But actually what is seen is not a sky. I mean, something you need to have a kind of skill to convince him. It's not a persuasion, but at the same time, you also need to exhibit that you are a neutral and an impartial person in that process. And that's where I believe the Mediation Act, of course, it set a legal background for the resolution of the dispute. But it goes beyond it, how we establish credibility. I have seen that the same matter, if given to 2 or 3 mediators, 1 or 2 mediators will fail, but one mediator will succeed. Why? So that it's something, I don't know how the law professor is going to, to make the young students to understand it. So many of these disputes depend upon your personality, your competence to understand others, your competence to, to make a party to the dispute to realize about himself and his dispute. All that matters in the process. So future of the mediation in India would depend upon the credibility of the mediators, not depend upon the roles and rules and procedures. If mediators themselves fail in their duty, people may reject it because they believe that this is not something which is conducive for them to resolve the dispute. Like in arbitration, in formal litigation, people have certainty in the sense they know what would be the outcome, a definite outcome. And if they fail, they can have a higher forum and another higher forum. But mediation is all about the personal perception the disputant would ultimately carry within himself about the process and competence of mediation. That all depends upon individual skills of the mediators. So Mediation Act, of course, is good, but it should go beyond the Mediation Act to learn about mediation. And I'm sure the youngsters will have a lot more focus on these aspects. With this word, I formally declare this competition is open. Thank you, one and all.
Thank you so much, Mustaq sir, for your words of wisdom and shedding more light on mediation from both traditional and cultural perspective, and other important factors definitely surrounding the mediation process. The way you explained the practical intricacies of mediation was very intriguing personally for me. Thank you so much, sir. Next, I am very delighted to invite Dr. Brian Clark, who is the patron of INC 2023 and the head of Academic Affairs, Newcastle Law School, United Kingdom. His unwavering support and vision have been instrumental in shaping this event right from its first edition. His patronage serves as an inspiration to all of us, and we are honored to have him join us today and share his invaluable insights and address this esteemed gathering. Dr. Brian, I welcome you to deliver the patron address.
Well, thank you very much for that introduction. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, colleagues, friends, students, the Honourable Justice Mustaq, sir. Thank you, everyone, for coming along today. That was a really wonderful speech, Justice Mustaq. Very, very interesting, and I could talk at great length to you about some of those things, and I don't have that time today. But what I will say is that I agree that you're absolutely right, that rules alone will not change the culture significantly enough to embrace mediation and help mediation develop. in a jurisdiction. Rules are important, but you need to get the culture to change. And that means, as you say, training people properly. Education, for example, is very important. And as you also said, although we tend to think of mediation now as another legal process, such as arbitration, as you said, to resolve disputes, it's really an ancient process in many jurisdictions. And here in England, we can trace mediation back to medieval times, even though in the modern sense, we tend to think of it as a relatively new thing from the 1970s and 80s. So that's really interesting. I'll say a little bit more about what you said a little later on. But just to say, it's such a pleasure to be involved in this event again for the third year as patron of this competition. I had really hoped to be able to join my Lex Erudite friends in person this year. That was the original plan, but sadly that couldn't happen this year. But hopefully next year or another year that will be possible, and we'll be able to meet in person. That would just be fantastic. Lex Erudites is such an excellent initiative, really attempting to disseminate legal knowledge across India and other jurisdictions, and providing a platform for social legal discourse and debate. The mediation competition is clearly a highlight for me because it falls right within my interests as an academic. But the people behind Lex Erudites are fantastic. I've got to know them very well. They're so committed and they're willing to give up their time for the cause again and again. So my commendation goes to all of you for that. In terms of this competition, I think mediation competitions are great. It's a really fantastic way for students to put their learning into practice, to hone their skills, to meet like-minded peers from different jurisdictions, and also to learn from the many expert judges that we have helping to run this competition. They also have to challenge themselves as students, and it puts them out of their comfort zone in a process that's manifestly uncertain. They can't predict what's going to happen next, having to speak in front of their peers and expert judges. It can be daunting. I'll say a bit more about this when I do the training session for the students later on. The most important thing is to have fun and participate, enjoy it, take something from it, learn as much as you can, soak in what's happening around you. I think that mediation is becoming just so incredibly important across different jurisdictions now in many different areas of dispute. And for new lawyers, I think it's absolutely essential to know about mediation, to do some training, to attend events, to watch others mediating, to soak up as much as you can about the practice. And obviously in India now, it's become a compulsory part of legal training that will help to drive knowledge. And certainly in England, we're entering into a new era where there's really going to be significant promotion of mediation through the court process. So for law students out there, you need to know about it. But one point I'll make about mediation training, and I'll talk more about this when we do the session with the students later on, is that even if you never encounter mediation as a lawyer, as a mediator or a lawyer representing a client in the process, nonetheless, mediation training, in my view, just simply makes you better lawyers. What the Justice was saying earlier about the fact that as lawyers, we make everything about the law. You learn in mediation training that disputes are not just about the law. It's not just about fantastic advocacy or creating very clever arguments to disarm your opponent, but actually you need to understand your client's interests, their commercial interests, their personal interests, their appetite for risk, or their financial situation, their need sometimes for confidentiality or to avoid adverse publicity, because all those factors feed into what drives the way that a dispute might resolve. The law is one part of it, but often only a very small part. You also learn how to negotiate. You learn more about yourself, your own biases, your preferences, the way that you handle conflict or conflict within others. So I think mediation training is fantastic for all those reasons. And I'm sure that all of you have gone through some training already and will learn more in this competition. This competition has always been blessed with some fantastic teams and great skills on show, some excellent judges and some very tight contests. And I'm sure that this year will be no different as well. I want to also say that I'm very grateful to my own school at Newcastle, to my head of school, Dr. Jonathan Galloway, who you'll be hearing from later, who's agreed for Newcastle to help run the competition this year. And quite a number of our own students are helping to run the mediation online sessions and learning more about this kind of activity. And finally, I want to record a note of thanks to Advocate Akhil George, who has also very skillfully drafted 2 of the scenarios for this competition. So thank you so much for that. So that's really all I'm going to say right now. Thank you all for attending this ceremony, and I'll see the students in about an hour or two's time for the training session. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Brian. We have Dr. Jonathan Galloway joining us next for the felicitation. He is the head of Newcastle Law School. Dr. Jonathan is primarily accomplished in law and regulation academic and qualified New York attorney with a keen interest in corporate governance and comparative constitutional law. Jonathan presently serves as the elected executive member of the Committee of Heads of UK Law Schools and has also been appointed as an inaugural member of the Learning and Development Steering Group of Law Society of England and Wales. Thank you for joining us today, sir, and I invite you to share a few words.
Thank you, and good evening, and hello, everyone, Mr. Justice Mustak, and colleagues, partners joining for what I'm sure is going to be an excellent few days ahead. Newcastle Law School is a research-led, globally connected, locally rooted and compassionate community. We have several core areas of research expertise, and I am privileged and honoured to say that mediation civil justice is one of those, and one that we value greatly in an ever more increasing and important field of study and practice. Our engagement with Lex Erudites is important to us, not just because it aligns with our staff expertise and with the excellent Professor Clark and other colleagues within the law school, but because it aligns with our ethos. Aligns with our ethos and commitment to global engagement. It aligns with our support for experiential learning, putting learning into practice, and thinking of Lex Erudites outstanding opportunities for our students, but also because mediation itself is often a more compassionate and far more effective route than the alternatives. As head of Newcastle Law School, I want to thank all of you and the competition for the opportunity for our school to engage with and support these invaluable activities. I appreciate the opportunity to do that, the event and the competition, and I wish you all well in the days ahead, and wishing everyone success and an opportunity to derive opportunities for learning and networks with new international peers in the course of the weekend ahead.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jonathan. Next in line, we have the special address for which we have on board Mr. Sagar Singham Sethi. He is not only an advisor to Lex Erudites, but also a managing partner at Grace-Based Consulting. I warmly welcome you to the event, sir. Over to you, sir.
Thank you. First of all, welcome to everyone, and thank you also for being here. Of course, I'm part of Lex Erudites from the time it has started, along with Professor Brian. So thank you again for inviting me, and also a special thanks to Justice Mustak, because I know personally as well that he's traveling and he's actually somewhere out of India. But thank you very much, sir, for taking the time. I know we have a good relation, so I've taken advantage of that. So let me put that as well. But thank you again for being here and also for addressing the students. You know, as Professor Brian already said it, you know, this particular competition has been going on for a couple of years, and the reason why it has been going on is, of course, one definitely is the efforts of all the students at Lex Erudites who have been contributing for progressing, or at least somehow making taking that step to make that difference in this particular area. And big thanks goes to Brian again, because I think without your support and knowledge, I don't think the students at Lex Erudites or other parts of the world as well, especially at Newcastle, I think would not be honing the skills of mediation. Um, I again, a personal welcome to Dr. Jonathan, because we have not met online as well. I haven't met Brian as well in person, but again, welcome, sir, and thank you for collaborating with Lex Erudites and also for supporting on behalf of Newcastle University, and also hopefully we continue this collaboration as well. I probably have only two things. I mean, there's a judge here and also a lawyer in the past, who already knows a lot about mediation, and he said it. And Brian is doing all the academic. I only have two things to say. One is what Justice Mushtaq already pointed out: mediators need to travel beyond a lawyer. So, and also what Professor Brian already said: you can't just keep to the book of the law. You need to hone your skills, and for that you need to understand, as budding lawyers, you know what a book brings, but then what is life, what life brings. You have to experience that, and I definitely believe that mediation helps in going that extra step, taking that extra step of not just opening a book and then reading clause 1 to clause 100, but then you also go out and also start understanding that, okay, there is a society that you're in, and this is how the cultural differences, communication barriers, perceptions, and your own personal experience, how do you bring all these things together? I think all this Justice Mushtaq sir already put it, but again, I'm just repeating for the sake of the students that all these, especially communication, to me, cultural and communication plays a big role if you want to become a credible mediator. And with that, we all want to bring some value into whatever discussions we have. And as a mediator, I definitely think if you do not build that trust and you do not have that credibility with you, then probably you're lost. It's not being pessimistic, or it's not to dishearten you, but I think it's a skill. It comes with experience, and I'm glad that with this initiative that Lex Erudites and with the support of Professor Brian, what we are trying to do here is to see that there is some skill set that is being built for the future, and it is not new. Mediation has been there. If I have to take a reference to Mahabharata or any of these, historical things, mediation has always been there. Today, in the present times, when you have conflicts like, whatever you see that, between Russia and Ukraine, or let's be very relevant as well. Mediation is probably the first step you have international governments take. They send their envoys, they have their ambassadors. What are they doing? They actually sit down and try to calm down the situation. Okay, and why are people listening to them? Because they have the understanding of the cultural whatever, if you're in India, if you're in the UK, the ambassadors actually make sure that they understand the local culture. And what are they trying to break down? Making it simple by communicating very easy, hopefully understandable things that probably we have lost because of whatever emotion that we put towards it. So the mediator is putting out, of course, an emotion, experience, but also at the same time trying to stay away from that emotion, because they want to take that objective look at the problem. So it's a very global, it's globally relevant, in terms of whatever we see, but also in terms of not just about the traditional subjects. As a law student, you might be thinking, oh, mediation is something that you're going to use only in family law disputes or some other, disputes that are taking place domestically. No, it's happening in the space sector, it's happening in the aviation sector, you just name it, high tech, technology sectors, everywhere mediation is taking place. So again, it's just to make things a bit more relevant for the students as well, that it is a happening area, it is quite relevant. So all that you have to do is, as Justice Mushtaq sir already put it, do not fail, and in order not to fail, just hone the skills that you need. And for that, you read your books, but also go out and talk. And Lex Erudites is providing that opportunity now, and hopefully you'll make good use of it. So thank you again for the opportunity, and thank you to Dr. Jonathan and Professor Brian for actually also, collaborating with us. And I take the Indian side now with us. uh, but definitely it's a collaboration that we have been, I think building on strength to strength. So 3 years is already good, and I hope that we continue the relationship. And a special thanks to Justice Mustaq sir for being out of the country and then still taking part. And I'm always impressed that he always have very encouraging and then very motivating things to say. So I'm glad he said that. And to Lex Erudites team, great job again, and good luck for the next days. And especially to the students, learn. That's it. There's nothing more to do. Be there, enjoy. It's like playing football or any other game that you want to play. The coaches say enjoy the game. It's mediation or the competition is just enjoy. I mean, there are a lot of things to learn. Observe other people. That's the most important thing. You're here, you win, great, but you're already in that next level. You're taking part in this competition. You have to learn by just watching the others as well. I think that's already a great learning that you'll take back. Thank you, and thank you, Elaine. Over to you.
Thank you so much, Sagar sir. Lastly, we have the vote of thanks. We have our co-founder of Let's Erudites, Ms. Lakshmi Nandana. Those who know her know that she has been the backbone of this competition. It's my pleasure to welcome Ms. Lakshmi for the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Aileen. Good evening, everyone. It's always a privilege to be proposing the vote of thanks, and I'm honored to be doing this. Firstly, I would like to start by thanking our chief guest of the day, Honorable Mr. Justice Muhammad A. Mustaq sir, for his resourceful words and keeping some time away from his hectic schedule for us. Thank you, sir. Next, I'd like to express my sincere gratitude to our patron, Professor Dr. Brian Clerk, sir, for always being the guiding light and backbone for the Lex Erudites team. Thank you so much, sir. Next, it would be unfair on my part if I didn't take this opportunity to bestow my sincere thanks to Dr. Jonathan Galloway, Head of Law School, Newcastle University, and Mr. Sagar Singham Shetty, sir, representative of Board of Advisors for Lex Erudites team, for being avid enthusiasts of mediation and have added further vigor to our competition. Last but not the least, I would like to thank all the participants for being such a good sport and coming together for the love of mediation. On behalf of the entire Lex Erudites team, I wish you all the very best through the course of this competition. And that's it. Thank you, everyone. And thank you, Aileen, for being a wonderful host.
Thank you so much, Lakshmi. We have almost reached the end of this inauguration ceremony. As we embark on this journey together, let us remember that in the realm of mediation, every conversation is an opportunity, every disagreement is a potential for consensus, and every challenge is a gateway to resolution. May this competition may be a canvas upon which you paint the masterpiece of cooperation and empathy, showcasing the power of mediation in transcending boundaries and fostering space. Let me conclude by saying this. The ultimate satisfaction in any competition is derived from the inner satisfaction of knowing that you have done your best and that you have gotten the most out of what you had to give. Thank you, and signing off, this is Aileen Maria. Participants,
Thank
kindly
you.
note that the workshop will start at 6:45, so kindly stay back.
Thank you, Jana. Thank you, Brian. Thank you, Sagar. Thank you, Elaine. Lakshmi, all. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, everyone. Thank you. That was fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
I think we go off now, yeah. I think we can leave. Yeah.